So the third version of Test Track is just about here, and thanks to an awesome cast member, I was able to go and preview it today and ride it 3 times. And I thought, you know, I might as well review it while I'm at it. Now, if you are worried about spoilers, I'm going to be talking about pretty much every part of this, so just a heads up. Now, I might be kind of a weird person to be reviewing this because I never rode the old Test Tracks, so I'm mostly going to be talking about it as if it's a brand new ride. But if you're wondering what changed from the old Test Track, it's the same vehicles and the same layout of everything, it's just that the dark ride portion was completely redone. Now, since this was the first time I'd ever ridden Test Track, I always kind of wondered what this ride was. It's a very unique kind of ride style. You basically sit in a car, you don't have a lap bar, it's like you pull down a seatbelt as if you were in a car, and then it's just kind of electrically run on a little track. The first half of the ride is all indoors, it's mostly a dark ride, kind of giving you presentations about how cars are made and what kind of technology goes into cars. And then towards the end, it'll take you to an outdoor section where it'll launch you up to 65 miles an hour. So let's just talk the whole experience from start to finish. So when you first go into the standby queue, you're met with basically a showroom. There's all these like futuristic looking concept cars, as well as a few like museum type pieces where it tells you how the cars are made. But the indoor section of this queue is not actually very long. In fact, I think that if the queue is ever more than like a 30-minute wait, I'm pretty sure it's going to be out the door and in the hot outside. Something I've also heard about the old Test Tracks was that they had some sort of system where you could design your own cars in the queue. And whatever that was, it's not there anymore. There's currently no interactive elements in the queues at all. So anyway, you make it up to the loading station, and then the car just pulls right up. And like I said, it's kind of a weird ride vehicle because you just sit in it like it's a car. You just put your seatbelt on, you got plenty of leg room, and like most Disney rides, you can just carry all the bags you want and put them by your feet. So the ride gets going, and you've got about 2 or 3 minutes of just dark ride portion. And they were definitely going for a very high-tech sort of theme to this. I think the whole theme of this ride is showing how electric cars work and how like self-driving cars work and how all the sensors keep people safe. There's a few parts where it'll like launch you, you'll go really fast, and then a car will like pop out from the side, so then it will like slam on the brakes, which I mean, it's cool that they want to show that technology, but it's not the most comfortable ride. But from what I've seen from the Test Track 2 videos, that one you drove through a lot of like neon forests. There was just a bunch of like futuristic lights everywhere. Whereas this one, it's a lot more of driving through like set pieces. So there's parts where it looks like you're driving through a big city, or it looks like you're driving through a neighborhood, like even inside a garage. There's a part where it slows you way down and lights up the car, and if you look to the side, you can see the reflection of the car while they like overlay another car on top of it to like sort of customize what it looks like. And then there's a whole section where you just wind through the woods, like you're driving through the canyon. But then you have one big surprise at the end of the dark ride section. Right before it takes you outside, you get set in this big dome theater kind of room, where you just have this huge screen making it look like you're in some futuristic city. And then it launches you forwards and takes you outside. And then the outside portion is where it just starts speeding you up really fast. And you're probably thinking 65, that's not very fast for a car, but it feels very fast for how small and open air this car is. A couple things I will note about the outside portion. So like for the whole first half, you're in really dark rooms, and so your eyes get pretty comfortable with the dark, and so when it launches you outside, you're immediately like, I can't see a thing. Also something to note, if you have any sort of long hair, you might want to request the back row, because I've noticed that when you're in the front row, you've got like a little windshield in front of you, and because of the way the wind travels, it makes your hair just blow in all sorts of directions and get in your face the whole time. But if you're in the back row, it'll just blow it straight back. At least a little bit better. So yeah, if you have longer hair, it'll probably get messier if you're in the front seat. But then after the outside portion, it hits the brakes and you come back inside. I did notice quite a few parts in this where when it does hit the brakes, it does it in like little bursts, which is kind of uncomfortable. You'll be going fast and then it's like kind of hit you and then go fast and then hit you again. And so it's not very smooth braking. But on your way out of the exit, you come into what's basically like a big showroom again, where it actually has a bunch of real life cars by General Motors, of course, because General Motors sponsored the whole ride. It's just kind of funny that you feel like this is just a ride inside of a car dealership. Now, to note, this is still in preview, so there were a couple little issues that came up. Right before getting on for the third time, we noticed that it did get a little bit delayed. One of the cars was basically broken down. And when we looked over and saw a guy actually working on the car, they lift up the front hood and work on it as if it's a regular car, which was kind of interesting. But overall, I'd say it's a very fun, solid ride. I do think that EPCOT is in dire need of another ride, because without Test Track, all they've had for the past year is Guardians, which is a great ride, don't get me wrong, but when the line is always an hour plus, It feels like the one thrill ride there is barely even accessible. So hopefully having 2 thrill rides there will make it a little bit easier to have something to do. Something interesting is that the cars all have 3 seats in the front and 3 seats in the back. So the single rider line in this one is definitely going to move pretty quick because there's not a lot of groups of 3 or 6 in the park. So there's going to be plenty of empty seats that are just waiting to be filled by single riders. And from what I've heard in the past, the single rider line always does move pretty quick too. I think the operations on this thing are pretty good. I was timing it at about 12 seconds between each vehicle. It might even be capable of going a little bit faster than that. But anyways, if you ever get the chance to get on this, I highly recommend it. I'm sure most people watching are just like, yeah, I already did the old one. Like, everything you're saying I already knew. But yeah, the ride is set to open in just 3 more weeks, so if you happen to be there while it's open, give it a shot.